Hi, Janet. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so sorry. I thought it was 4:30. I don't know. God only knows for what reason I thought it was 4:30, but I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Not a big deal at all. I appreciate
Hi.
you taking time to talk to me.
Oh no, it's grand. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Awesome.
So you're in Ireland, huh?
No, I'm in London.
Oh, London. Okay.
Yeah.
How was your run?
um. Well, I ran home. I didn't run there. I I was at the park. I was just like literally just like lying out, chilling out, and I was like, oh yeah, 4:30 will be grand. I looked at my phone. It was like 5 to 4, and I was like, all right, cool, better head home now. And then my phone hit 4, and then I got the notification ping up, and it's like, no, oh no, I've still got like a 15-minute walk. So I started legging it in a dress. It was a look. It was an absolute look. How's your Sunday going?
Pretty well, pretty well. It's only 8:30 in the morning here, so just getting started.
Late. That's an early start to be chatting.
It's all good. Well, I appreciate you again taking time out of your day to talk to me. Our podcast is about your journey in the music industry and how you got to where you are today.
Cool. I'll try and remember. It's been 10 years now.
So how did you did you grow up in Ireland?
Yes, I did. I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Ireland. Yeah. But like the absolute countryside therein.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think I was about 12 miles away from the nearest town.
Oh, wow. How was that
Yeah.
growing up? Was it strange being isolated like that?
No, because it's all I knew, to be honest. Like I had 3 older brothers, so we always were outside. I had horses and all that kind of stuff. So I was always occupied. I always had something to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I always got weirded out. Like when I went to secondary school, I went to school with kids that were from the town. I remember being like, "What do you mean? Like you go home and there's kids playing on your street? What the frick? You can hang out? That's odd, Because that was just like not our reality. Our reality was just like your brothers had to become your friends.
So you spent a lot of time hanging out with your siblings?
Yeah, no, literally. So I literally thought I was a guy until I was like 15. I was like, whoa, hold on a second. I'm a girl. But it was good. Like I love them to pieces, but like they absolutely didn't treat me the way that I think people think. When I say I got 3 older brothers, they're like, oh my God, they must be so overprotective and must not
Mm.
let you date. I'm like, no, whenever they meet a guy who's dating me, they're like, good luck. They're like, you poor fool, you're taking her on. They're not like, don't you dare date my sister. They're like, please date my sister.
Oh, that's hilarious. So how did you get into music originally, Janet?
Oh gosh, I think I was about 3 years old when I started playing the to whistle. And I was in a Keeley band, I think by the age of 5, really.
Whoa.
Yeah. So Irish music was always a part of my life when I was younger. And then that led on to me playing fiddle for a wee bit. And then that led me on to playing violin, learning classical violin. I played drums for a bit. The drums was the thing that got me into the singing, actually, when I was about 15.
That's
I
interesting.
wanted to be a drummer in an all-girl punk rock band, you know. Didn't really work out that way. I make folk pop music now. But I was always so shy that I never ever wanted the spotlight. But I love drums. But then I wanted a drum kit, and I picked up a lot of hobbies as a kid and dropped them just as quick. So whenever I started learning the drum, my mom was like, I'm not buying you a drum kit, just you'll never use it. So I ended up doing a bunch of singing competitions. And my best friend used to come to some of them to support me. I ended up being able to buy a drum kit. But then because my friend started going to them, she bought me a video camera for my birthday and was like, you have to start uploading to YouTube. So I did start, and that's kind of how the whole X Factor thing happened, So everything
Wow.
just kind of led into it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So what videos were you posting on YouTube? And how old are you when you were doing that?
So originally, me and my best friend made videos in like 2007. But and I used to make videos ages ago. But when I got that video camera, I just did covers. Just like cover songs for my front room, like really, really badly recorded. But I think there's something charming in watching it now, because it's just like me, big speakers in the living room, and just having a sing song, and like obviously they've come a long way since then. But yeah, that's kind of how I got my start. And then I remember my mom saying one day she came into my room, she was just like, "Do you know the X Factor accepting video auditions?" So I was like, "Cool story, mom. What's up?" She's like, "Why don't you send one of your videos?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to. Like, I just what like." She's like, "What's the worst thing they do? They say no." And I was like, "Fair enough, mom. Fair enough." So my mom sent in my wee video audition, and then when I say the ball just kept rolling, literally the ball just kept rolling. It was very odd.
Wow. So what song did you submit for the video audition?
I went with the one with the most views. I thought that was a good approach.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. So it actually was Your Song by Elton John.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
just from my front room.
And I did see that you did a version of that song on X Factor. I watched the video of that.
Yeah, that was my audition song. Yeah. So bizarre. I love that song. I think because you always get stuck with the song that you did. I'm glad I got stuck with that song because it's a great song. So
Yeah,
I'm
it could
not,
have been
I'm not
worse.
sick of it. Yeah, exactly. So as far as songs to follow you around, I'm like, could be worse.
Sure. So tell me about being on X Factor. How did they contact you? How did that all happen for you?
I got an approval to come over and do a proper audition. But the problem was I was singing at a wedding. So I had to sing at a wedding on a Saturday because they emailed me on a Saturday that the audition was on the Sunday. And I was like, are we forgetting the fact that I live in Ireland? Oy! So me and my mum, we booked these last minute flights. We literally just went from this wedding I was singing at to the airport. And what people don't see is like I did so many auditions. Like I think it was like between 8 to 11 auditions.
Really?
And
Just to get on the show?
before you even see a judge, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's a crazy long process. And I almost didn't get through in like 2 of the auditions. Like I literally remember 2 people being sat at a desk going, like writing on this piece of paper, being not very impressed at all by me. But I met the producers and they had a good vibe. So they were like, yeah, cool. So I ended up missing my flight because they made me stay and do some filming, which never got used. So it was good. Love that. But yeah, that then led to doing the judges audition. And I think people think that that it was like good or whatever, but like you don't. Because there's so many people there at the same level as you. Like obviously you don't see on TV. There's like 300 people. They're all doing an audition and it's all woo, yay, amazing. Everybody's getting amazing reviews. So you're like, okay, cool, great. I can't believe I flew over here just to get forgotten about. Like,
yeah. Do you feel like they weren't honest with everybody? Like they weren't like, oh, that was kind of garbage, but thank you for coming today. They didn't do like stuff like that.
Well, no, what was actually weirder was there's so much talent you don't see on TV. Like there's so many like jaw-dropping performances that you just don't hear about. They just didn't make it on television. So you're always like, what the frick happened there? But like me, I was like, why am I even here? So I always thought I was a joke act, genuinely thought I was a joke act for a very long time. So yeah, that then just like literally the goalpost just kept moving. I was like, right, this will be the last thing. I don't know, this will be the last thing. All the way through boot camp, judges' houses. I'm like, I was so convinced I was going home at judges' houses. I took my psychology homework on the plane. I took all of my schoolwork with me to Miami. So when people were going out for dinner and stuff, they're like, "Oh, you coming?" I'm like, "No, I'm sorry. I've got an essay to do. I can't. I've got this English literature homework that needs to get done." And they're like, "What?" So because I genuinely just thought every time I was go home, and then the whole TV thing happened, and it was just it was a very wild ride.
Yeah.
For a kid.
I was gonna say you were young too when you were on X Factor, right? Like in 16
I was
years
16.
old. Wow.
Yeah. So it was bizarre.
Yeah. And then from the X Factor, what was the next thing that happened for you?
X Factor led on to me doing the X Factor tour, which was cool, which meant I got money. And when I got money, I reinvested it back into, trying to record a first album and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But long story short, the first album was a write-off, which meant losing thousands upon thousands of pounds. All is kind of revealed in the album book, because I can't really go into detail just yet. But then I ended up having to make my first album in 6 weeks, which is why it's called Running with Scissors, because it's like highly not recommended that you do that because it's dangerous and all the rest of it, and it'll only hurt you or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it. It did really well, I had great fun releasing that record. I got to do so many things, like, because the American deal I signed then happened months after I put the record out here in the UK. So I got to do all of the promo all over again in a different country. So it's like, yes, I'm gonna ride this album out. Yeah.
Well, when you first released it as Hide and Seek, right? And then you re-released it as Running with Scissors. How did that happen?
I changed it. Yeah. That was the first album that I binned, was Hide and Seek. So I kept some of the songs from the album, and I had to bin a few, and then just reproduced everything else. So very, like, all I'll say is it's in the book, because, like, for legal reasons, I can't really go into too much detail.
Okay.
But basically, I ended up having to re-record my first album because I had a deadline, because I did it through a crowdfunding website. So I had to make a certain deadline for this album to get out. That's why I had 6 weeks.
Oh, because I saw that you did it through Pledge Music, the first one. So there's with Pledge Music, you have to set a date. Like, okay, I'm going to release the album on this day. You have to do that prior to start collecting money.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
so I had to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had to work with that, and it was like, oh my god. I think I did get to move it once, though. I think I got to move it back, and I did push it back. Then that's why I couldn't push it back again. I was like, I can't do this to people. This is terrible. So we ended up making that album really, really quickly. And I think what was hard as well was, like, I was really in the throes of, like, my addiction at the time, which just made the whole process even harder. I think half the vocals, if not all the vocals on that record, are done with me being incredibly hungover.
Oh, really?
So, like, the whole recording process for this latest album was so fun. Funny how when you're not in absolute sheer physical and emotional pain, that you can have fun, when recording an album. So, God bless the producers on the first album, though they had to put up with a very broken me.
Sure.
But we got it done. We did get it done. So thank God. But yeah, the whole process for this latest one has been, obviously it's taken like almost 6 years by the time between albums, which is crazy. And I don't recommend doing that. But also, like, I didn't think I'd be writing my own book, obviously. I just kind of thought, we'll just do a biography and not an autobiography or whatever. And then I fell in the traps of doing a sample piece for my for at the time who I thought was going to write the book for me. Turned out they were going to. Then they read my work and they were like, "No, I like your writing, so you're going to write the book." And I was like, "No, why did I do this to myself?" So then I ended up having to write the whole thing, and he edited it. So, which I'm glad of now, because I definitely would have felt like such a sham. Like, I don't know how these people go out, like with ghostwriters, and they're like, yeah, I wrote this book, and they did nothing. I'm like, my conscience could never.
Yeah. You know? Every celebrity bestseller that's written by
literally
some Harvard grad or something.
I do get people in my DMs so being like, you didn't even write the book. And I'm like, excuse me, if I didn't write the book, this album would have been like 2 years earlier. Okay, calm down. Would have taken me so long, Yeah. So that would be the worst ghostwriter ever. Oh, how long did it take you to do the book? 2 years? What? You suck.
So you're saying earlier, everything that you're talking about with that first record, and you having to re-release it and stuff, you said all of that
Mhm.
information is going to be in the book.
Yes.
Just you currently can't talk about it because the book is coming out.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
Cool.
everything's obviously worded very particularly in the
Hmm.
book. And I don't want to get myself in trouble, you
Yeah,
know.
and I don't want to get you in
That's
trouble either. I get
but
it.
it's
Well,
it's chapter Honest Men. If anybody's listening to this, like later on, and they're like, "Oh, the book's out, I want to read it." It's Honest Men. That's the chapter.
so what made you decide to just get it all out on this record and write your truth?
I think for me, like, I came up with the idea 6 months into recovery when I was like, I want to make a really honest record. You know, I want to make about all the things I've been through, blah, blah, blah. But then I realized that by doing that, I'm isolating the listener because everything's up its own butt. I wrote a few songs and was like, these are so self indulgent. It's gross.
Mhm.
So I then opted for the more metaphorical approach. But then I was like, well, we're not really being honest now, are we? Like, we're not telling anybody the truth, the actual truth. So that's when I thought, oh, well, why don't I just write a book about it? And I think for me, like, I know I get a lot of people being like, oh, you're only 25. Like, why are you writing a book? I'm like, one, it's not an actual autobiography in the sense of like it runs through my whole life and here's where I came from, here's where I am now. It's curated so that it's a song and the stories that are relevant to like that specific story or event or affliction or whatever. So yeah, so like it's not that kind of book. And for me, the fact that I've gotten all my demons down and out in this album and in this book, like it allows me then to be hopeful that like I'm hoping I won't have to write another book. You know, I'm hoping that my life will be so boringly normal or as normal as my life can be in this weird job
Mhm.
as ever. So like I don't think I want to write another one, hopefully not, because there's there's so many things that I went through that I just never want to go through again. And I feel
Sure.
like as soon as that's I can just put that out in the universe and be like, it's not mine anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because
So
that's
you
always how I felt when I put music out. I'm so precious about these songs and blah blah blah. But then as soon as I put it out there, it's like, oh, that's not mine anymore. That's everybody else's. So I'm like, maybe if I do this, what's my problem? Ho ho! So I'll just chuck my problems into the void and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's well, when did you go into recovery? How old were you?
I was 20,
20. Okay.
which is bizarre. I know because people are like, that's really young. And I'm like, well, I was on national TV at 16, you know?
Yeah, and at least you caught it early enough. I mean, I've been sober for almost 3 years now.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and actually I was telling my wife and I were talking about this earlier. I've never this is the first time I've really went on any sort of record and even talked about it. Like I've
Oh,
never
wow.
yeah. I was just like, you know
Bless
what?
you.
She's sober, so why not? I'll just bring it up.
Woo! I
Yeah.
do. There's definitely some, like when you try and explain to people who aren't sober, like the weird solidarity between people like in recovery, they just don't get it. And you're like, that's why it's
Yeah.
called a fellowship, my dude. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you.
Was it weird? Like the hardest thing for me has been like trying to almost like dance around the fact like why you don't drink or why you don't do certain
Mm,
things.
that's where I put the alcoholic thing out before I released loads of topics from the book. I just sat down, I made the video. I'm an alcoholic or whatever. My alcoholism, 5 years in recovery, is what I posted the video was. But it was because I got so tired. There was definitely a phase on my like Instagram and life online where like people were getting bored of how like together my life looked, I would eat well, I was doing CrossFit, I was, in bed by 8:30, and I had this really boring looking life, but I don't think people realized it was from necessity. So I just like I don't it just felt like a big lie. And when people online or people in real life would ask me why I don't drink, you know, I felt like I had to make so many lies up, and I don't like lying, and I also have no shame. So like I never minded telling anybody in my real life that I was an alcoholic. I'm like, I go zero to Lindsay Lohan so quick, it's ridiculous. And that's fine. But then online I had to be like, oh yeah, I just choose not to drink. And it's like, I'm a raging alcoholic. So it just feels so nice now to just be out and open with it, and just the messages even I've received since putting that out has been mind blowing.
Really?
Like, oh dear God, like I've cried so many times just because I think for me, what something that I really hoped I'd achieve from putting the video out, I was like, I probably won't achieve this. And what I wanted was what I wanted when I got sober. And I couldn't find any women in their 20s talking about their alcoholism, but like not saying that they have a drinking problem, where they're just going to get sober for 6 months and just say how it goes. You know what I'm saying? I was like, dude, I can't have that. I need somebody who's like, I'm an alcoholic and I shan't drink. That's what I was looking for, and I couldn't find it. So I ended up looking up to the likes of like Russell Brand and all these older dudes, and when I read these comments from girls in their 20s or younger, like just saying like, oh my God, I don't feel so alone anymore. I'm like, that's warmed my heart to like a degree that I just can't explain, because I know how isolating it feels to be in that position. So I'm just glad that, if one person is like, oh yeah, that made me get sober, then I'm happy,
Yeah. And I feel like for young people too, at least I had the problem, like if you wanted to try to go to like an AA meeting or something, like I always felt like, okay, I'm 20 years plus younger than everybody else in this room. So like, how am I supposed to relate to some guy's story about, how he's 75 years old now and stopped drinking when he like got out of Vietnam or something? I'm like, how does this have anything to do with me in the current situation that I'm going through? So I always found that hard. And I think that's why people, I mean, I don't know, but I would think that's probably a good reason why people would gravitate to your story, since you're only 25 years old.
Yeah.
Sober for 5 years already.
Yeah,
It's
mad.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know. I think I never really. First thing I remember from getting sober was like, the whole look for the similarities and not differences.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even need to be told that, because I remember going into my first meeting. It was a woman's only meeting, because it was the only one that was on that. Like, it was the first one I seen that I could make.
Sure. Yeah. Those times are always like the most inconvenient time. It's like, okay, 7 in the morning, we'll have it. And then 3 p.m.
Yeah, exactly. So I went there, and I just literally remember being hit with that wave of, oh, damn it. I am a full-on alcoholic, because I agree with everything you're saying. Because it's like, we haven't lived the same life, but we've had a lot of the same kind of experiences, or at least down to the emotional root cause of why somebody would drink. And I'm like, frick, damn. But I remember leaving that meeting and just being like overwhelmed with, like, I posted a Facebook status of like, this is the first day of the rest of my life. That's how it felt for me. And that is just something I carry around with me now. It's like, my life has never been as dark as it was. And I'm so glad, I am absolutely so glad. So the fact that I've seen messages from people saying that, they're sober, I get little updates now, because the video's been up long enough. People are like, I've not drank now for a month. And I'm like, yay.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool to see.
Yeah. And even just like, and I think this is the beauty of such a topic, is like, I see old dudes relating to my story. I see young women relating to my story, men, middle-aged, like people from all over the world. And I think that's the thing. It's like, well, because I think in the video I tried to focus on why emotionally I did the things that I did, instead of, because I think some people go too far, obviously, into war stories, which are great, because we get it. You drank a lot.
You're right. You're right. No, it's
Yeah.
almost like
So
a pissing match sometimes. It's like, we get it, you know?
wow, such a hardcore life, Devin. Oh my God.
I'm
Whew.
so impressed by your,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like that's always what when I remember when I first got sober, I remember being like, oh, it's not really the same experience. So that's why when I was filming the video, I really wanted to talk more about like the emptiness and that feeling of like uselessness,
What made you decide to post the video? Like,
I've wanted to post that video for 5 years.
uh-huh.
Honestly, I've been dying to post a video. And obviously your natural inclination then is to like overthink it
Mhm.
and overanalyze it and edit it and do all these things. But what I literally did was set up the studio, turn the video camera on, and just went. And it was the first take, it was the only take. And I just went with it. I was like, I don't want to do it again. I don't want to think about it. I want to get it out, because I've obviously rehearsed it mentally so many times, but I was like, I'm not going to overthink it on the day. And it's because I do pride myself in like living quite an honest life. Because I think like, well, honest is never honest enough in the field of work that I'm in. But also like, I don't have shame anymore in a lot of regards, because what I've come to learn after meeting so many people in my life is that if you don't talk about these things, they just kind of weigh you down. And what you don't know is probably the person sitting right next to you who's been through it or been through something similar or know somebody who's been through something similar. So we carry around this shame stick that we beat ourselves on the back with and pretend like we're the only person who's been through this and we're the worst. And it's like, no, like we're not that special in the best way possible. So like, I don't mind ever like talking openly about something,
Well, when you put that video up, did you have to like wait, 24 hours or something to check the response on it, or like how did you handle that?
I was seeing a guy at the time. So what I did was I posted the video, I shut my laptop and I went to the cinema and turned my phone off. I was like, cool, I don't want to know. It's not my problem right now. What did I see? I think that was the night I went to see Doolittle.
Oh, nice. The new Dr. Dolittle movie.
Yeah. It was it.
I figured you wouldn't forget that movie just because of the situation.
Yeah. Well, I kind of would though, because I used to go to the cinema like 2-3 times a week. I'd watch anything that came out. I had a cinema card. So.
Oh, really? We have that too. Or we did until the quarantine happened. But yeah,
exactly.
It's like a monthly thing. You just go whenever you want. Yeah, my son and I would go all the time.
It's the best. So it means I see basically every movie that comes out. It's great. I love it.
That's awesome. So the whole new record, so Confessions comes out on June 5th, and that's that's all the songs, the whole story, so to speak. So tell me about the book in correlation to the record. The book is just like a biography or your autobiography, and the record is kind of like a cohesive concept record.
It's simpler but more complex than that. So the book is obviously factually about my life, but the album runs in chronological order as of the span of about 10 years. So every event or anything that I felt like shaped me as a person, I decided to put in the book. So it obviously goes from my anorexia when I was like 15, my self-harm at 12 years old, all of these things that I felt like shaped me as a person. Before TV, like the sexual assault that happened to me was before television. All of these things like the people didn't know, but were very shaping of me and my character. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So everything runs in this order. So it's not like a biography in the sense of like, hi, I'm Janet Devlin, welcome to my life. It's unfortunately I've been through quite a lot of stuff. So it's just these, and normally I think per chapter there's around 3 stories that are associated with a certain topic. So that's kind of the way it goes, and it gets happier the further in you go, basically. because I just put out Holy Water there the other 2 days ago, and people
Mhm.
are like, "Oh my god, what is this? It's joyous. Did you write this? What the frick?" I'm like, "You'd be happy to know that's the second last song of the album, and that's why it sounds really happy." So it's a fun thing. So basically, you can listen to a song. So take Fairies, for example, Away with the Fairies. Sounds like a whimsical, wonderful little journey of a little fairy. But it's not. It's all of everything's a double entendre for drinking.
Mhm.
But I wanted people to still be able to just listen to the song and be like, "Oh, I'm away with the fairies. Ah, fun." But give people the option, because I'm not saying to everybody go buy the book. You know, I know that the book's not for everyone. But because I think it came through want for me. Like I would love if like a few of the artists that I loved growing up did this, where they that song that they wrote that you relate to so much, and you're like, I want to know what their story behind it is. I would have loved if they did this, but I don't think anybody's done this yet. So I wanted people to have the choice, if they so wanted to, they could read the actual stories that formed that part of my life and formed a part of me. So like the book is literally, the book and the album are the closest you'll ever get to inside my brain. And I think, like, as personal as the album is, obviously a lot of it is hidden in metaphor. So it's it's weird because obviously nothing is as close to the voice in your head as your words on paper.
Mhm.
So there's definitely something very soul bearing about being like, here's my inner monologue, enjoy. Terrifying. But it was a necessity for me to put that book out with the album. Otherwise, we would have had a very self-indulgent album, you know,
Mhm.
because there are one or two songs that are explicitly about the topic, which I appreciate. I like that, but you know, I still, again, didn't want to isolate listeners. I wanted them to be able to still enjoy the album.
Mhm. So Holy Water is just one song that's going to be on the record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay, because I on Spotify they kind of clumped 5 songs together, so I wasn't sure if it was like an EP, and I'm like, well, you
I
have
get that
another
a
thing coming out on the
lot.
June 5th, so I was kind of
Yeah.
confused.
It's called a waterfall release. It's basically it's because if you put out a song, when people click the song, it just takes you to the single, just the song.
Mhm.
Whereas when you do a waterfall release, every song you put out links you then to the rest of the songs. So you click that song and you've got access then to the rest of it. So is it a way to get more streams? I don't know. Or is it just a way that to show people? I like that when you click it, then people automatically know, oh wait, this is coming off a body of work and it's not
Mhm.
just a random song. Yeah, it's just a weird way. They haven't really worked it out yet though. There's still a lot of glitches in the whole thing. Like when you put out a song, then they all have the latest pack shot of the last single and stuff. But
Mhm.
I think it will work really well in the future.
Cool. Yeah, I was just curious because I was wondering, I'm like, if that, but there's a song. I mean, Confessional is on that, so I figured it had to kind of be part of the record. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, Confessional is the first song on the whole album.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, was there like a like what made you decide to go into treatment? Was there like a rock bottom for you?
Um Gosh, I never really hit a rock bottom, to be
Mhm.
honest. Like I just, for me, my rock bottom, I think, was an emotional rock bottom, and I just realized that I couldn't run anymore. Like I went missing for a few days again. Same old story. My mum flew over to England because at the time she was working a full time job, and I was being a full time child. So she came over and took me to the doctor again. Like this whole process we'd already been through. Went to the doctor. He referred me to this center. This like not AA. It's just like a get
Yeah, like a
drink
rehab.
less. No,
Uh,
no. It's a government scheme. It's not even rehab. It was just this thing, and I don't want to out them because I don't want to like maybe put off somebody who it might work for or it has worked for, but it absolutely didn't work for me. So I went in to sign up again for this scheme. And they were like, sorry, you've already been here, and also the waiting list is about 2 weeks long. And the woman was really lovely, and she's like, I'll be right back. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. She comes back and she gives me a list of meetings, like AA meetings, and she's not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to give you meetings in that place.
Wow, that's interesting. Why is
because
that?
they don't work with AA. They don't work with AA. The first time I ever went in, I got this guy, and he was like, yeah, there's no point in even going to AA because it's a room filled with relapsers. Literally. So I never went to AA for years because that dude said it was terrible.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, I actually then, because I came back out of the building with those papers, my mom was like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, she just gave me a list of these meetings. She's like, well, you'll be going to that tomorrow, won't you? And I was like, yes, mom. Yes. So I got marched there. But thank God, because I needed that, you know. Some people can find the rooms on their own. Like, I needed my hand held to get better, you know. Because it's so funny. Like, I had way worse drinking experiences, like maybe like a year before I got sober. Like, I think everyone thought I was hopefully going to stop drinking this one time when I'd been in the studio in the morning, drunk. I got home that evening, got more drunk, got ready for a red carpet, went to London, got off the train after downing some more alcohol, passed out in the bathroom, woke up with the police around me. This is in King's Cross station. I get dragged out. I'm stood there with the police in a red carpet dress, you know, because we are classy drunk, apparently. And the police are around, and I'm like, oh no, my MJ who works for me is coming. Blah. And then out the corner of my drunken, stupid eyes, I'm like, that's MJ. And it was. So he comes running, and he's like, I'm like, girl, let's go. He's like, we're going home. And he literally had to carry me basically all the way to like our headquarters, or my management's headquarters. Yeah. It was not my proudest moment, passing out on the floor of King's Cross Station.
Yeah.
But hey, so everyone obviously thought I'd get sober after that, but I absolutely didn't. I just kept going. So
That's
like
kind of what
before
happens, though, right?
yeah, because before I got sober, I thought I was literally saying it. I maybe went missing for 3 days, but like I didn't like get up to anything that public or drastic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
when you said you went missing for 3 days, did you just turn your phone off and just isolate yourself?
Yeah, literally. So nobody could get hold of me. So obviously everybody's worried as hell in those days. Because also I was at the time like incredibly suicidal. So everybody just was waiting on that phone call of me finally getting the news that, yeah, she's dead. They didn't. So still here.
That's good. Yeah. We're happy about that. Jeez.
No,
yeah.
I'm so blessed. I've never been happier to feel at something in my life, you know. But I do still crack the occasional joke of like, I sucked at suicide as well, Jesus.
Right.
Which obviously touchy subject. But you know, if you don't laugh, you'll cry sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like I definitely got very lucky in my story, you know. So very grateful.
Mm-hmm. Well, is this isolation been like rough for you at all as far as your recovery, or just it's been 5 years and you don't care, it doesn't bug you anymore?
Oh God, I had 2 weeks of sheer hell. So at the start, I was grand. I was like, "What are you telling that I'm allowed to stay home and do nothing?" Class. I was like, my isolated heart is so happy. And then I don't know what happened. I just like there's 2 weeks where I was always like an eye roll away from a drink, is how I put it. And it was so scary for me because like I never felt temptation like that before in my life. Like I would go to the shop to get my essentials and my brain's like, buy a bottle of vodka. I'm like, no, my God, consequences, trying to play that tape in my head a million times over. So I ended up instead just buying a packet of cigarettes because I quit smoking years ago. And I was like, well, if our inner child's going to be really loud today, we're just going to have smoke, which is terrible. And I absolutely do not recommend smoking to anybody listening. Please don't. But at the time, I was like, I'll take anything that's not a drink.
It's better than drinking. Yeah, totally.
Exactly. So in that 2 weeks, like, I stayed really close to my online meetings. I joined a few, like, I met a friend of mine, like, messaged me right on the perfect time and added me to these groups, these WhatsApp groups and Zoom calls and Skype calls. And it was great because it meant that I had access then to as many meetings as I wanted. And then, I go to a therapist once a week anyway. And then I just upped it to like 2 for the week, just to go through all of the things, just try and figure out what was going on in there. So I got through it somehow, by some miracle. I don't want to drink again. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I was just very aware that I couldn't get complacent in this time, because, like, for me, I was a drinker. I didn't drink in pubs. I didn't drink in clubs. I was an isolated drinker in my room on my own. So it just kind of piled up, the amount of time I've had to spend with myself. But it just really obviously always comes back to, like, my reason for drinking a lot was because I couldn't sit with myself. And also, like, I have an inner child that's really loud, that's like, oh, why don't we get to drink? Everybody else gets to drink in lockdown. Well, look at them having a fun time. And I'm just like, Janet, I get it, right? I so get it, right? But stop it. That's childish, and just behave yourself. But obviously try to treat that inner child with love, because I think that inner child has that big argument of, like, well, we lost so many years of our teenagers, we should be allowed to make up for it. And it's like, shut up. You well over made up for it, okay? You absolutely did. Stop playing the hard done by card. But I think there was just that wave as well online of people posting about how much booze they were drinking. And I was just like, I'm a little bit envious. I don't want to get smashed and just sit in my room. And, like, one of my the silliest justification one day that I had for not drinking was, I've got a new carpet in my room fitted. And I was like, think about the carpet, Janet. It would get ruined because you can't hold your drink. And that was enough of a reason one day for me not to drink.
It's good enough. Yeah. All it takes is one good reason, right?
Exactly.
How do you feel about those Zoom like meetings? Is it kind of weird? I've popped into one just to check it out, and I just left because it was just like, I don't know.
They may not be my favorite thing, but neither is drinking. So I'm like, I force myself to go. I absolutely force myself. But I think what I found more so that was helpful, I got added to, like, group chat of, like, young alcoholics, and we have our own little Zoom calls, which are way more fun because it's just a bunch of alkies telling jokes that only alcoholics will find funny because it makes other people freak out. So it's nice. Even that bit of connection with somebody who's got a similar issue to you, I think is enough sometimes. And obviously, if it's not enough, I just go to the online meetings. I do appreciate the Zoom feature though, where you can swipe over and it turns your mic and camera off. Because sometimes I'll just literally lie on this bed and just stare at the ceiling and listen to somebody share.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did. I just turned my mic and video off and was just listening to people.
Yeah, so it's nice in that regard. Like, I don't really stick around. I don't share back, which is terrible. But, like, I really can't be bothered with the whole talking over each other thing. I just not for me.
You seem pretty outgoing though. I could see that you share in the meetings and stuff, like if you were in an in-person meeting.
No,
Oh,
depends.
really?
And I'm actually really shy in my personal life.
Oh, yeah.
That I got this. Somebody asked me the other day. They were like, "Oh, you're so bubbly," and I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm talking to a phone usually, and I'm good one-to-one. I'm good in groups like smaller than 3. Like, if it's 3, I'm cool. As soon as you put me in a room full of people or like a mini party, I cannot cope. My anxiety runs too high. So I get very, very scared at meetings. Like my hands go all sweaty. I feel like Eminem, and it's just, I hate it. But I force myself to, obviously, sometimes. But like, even then, it's just like the heart palpitations of like, hi, Janet, I'm an alcoholic, so I'm also really grateful. Thank you so much for taking me. I just wanted to say I'm glad to be here. Okay, thanks, bye.
That's how I feel. It's like I'm like more paranoid just waiting for them to call on me or something. Like I'm in school again. Or
I do try my best though. Like there are times where like before I go to the meeting, I'm like, you have to talk about this and what's going on, just so you get it out there. But I find I don't really need to do that so much now because I have a therapist, which is a freaking luxury, and I'm very, very aware, and I do not take that for granted whatsoever. But in the days where I couldn't afford a therapist, I had to make sure that I verbalized things to make them real. Otherwise, they were just these things that were like floating around my head and driving me absolutely mental. So there were times where it's like, this has absolutely nothing to do with the chair, but brain fart. But sometimes you just kind of got to do it, and your inner voice will tell you, you're like, oh, I'm the person that goes to the meeting that everybody hates to listen to share because of X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z. And it's like, hey, who cares? Are you drinking? No, then shut up.
I hated getting stuck reading the sheet in the beginning.
Alcoholics. Yeah, I know everything word for word now. I'm too long in the tooth. But I always will volunteer though now at this point. I'm just like, I hate that thing where it's like, is anybody going to read the promises? And it's a silent room, and it's like, yes,
yeah,
I'll do it. Fine, whatever. I need to get practice of talking in front of strangers.
Sure. Well, I did see a video that you posted where not only is Confessional going to be a record and an autobiography, but it's also, you have some photo element to it as well.
Yes, so I worked with, oh god, she's an amazing photographer. Her name's Emma Jane Lewis. So I worked with Emma, and I also had a hair girl. Obviously, hair is a big part of my identity, apparently. But I got this girl called Lou who did my hair for all of the images. But there's like an image for every song on the record. Because at this point I was like, well, we're already X amount of years in this, and it's all arty farty. So let's add another arty farty element of a concept image. Just to play around a little bit more with the whole like unraveling of things. Like there's no accidents, which is weird because normally I'm a go with the flow type of gal, but on this, like every image means something. And I just like the idea of like, if you're sat there with the book, I think it was kind of a thing that was made for vinyl, to be honest. I like the idea of somebody being sat with a booklet, having the lyrics there so they can start trying to unpick the song, or deciphering the song, but also having the image almost as like a clue, as like that's all, it's all about the same topic. So I just like that fun element of it. Like you have to work it out.
So the photos are going to be in those photos that you took are for the book to kind of give you like a visual. Oh no,
it's in the CDs, but like I said, it's more so for like the vinyl. Because in the vinyl you get like a pull-out book.
Sure.
It'll have an image and then the lyrics. So it's all the artwork's big, and it was all made to be square.
Love it. I love records, so I'm definitely buying the vinyl version of that. That's cool.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I love that vinyl's coming back. I love it. Because it's like CDs were always just supposed to be a means to the end in the industry anyway. They were never supposed to be this permanent form. So I'm glad that now that CDs are becoming redundant, that people aren't just jumping only to digital. People still want a physical thing, and I love that. And the fact is now they can have a bigger physical thing, which is just as redundant as a CD.
That's what I like too. It's just having the big. I mean, I have some records right here.
Yeah, a bunch. Like, I mean, I have my own down here. Like,
So yeah, it's just like having the actual vinyl and the
Yeah.
big physical thing that you
I feel
own
like you just
instead
get
of
more bang for your buck,
yeah.
because some people charge basically the same price for a CD and a vinyl. And I'm like, okay, right. Well, I know which one I'm going to get then.
Right.
And also, it's great for being on tour. Like the amount of gigs that I've gone to where the artist has vinyl, and if they're the type of artist who obviously stays at the end to sign stuff, I automatically buy a vinyl because I'm like, I want to have you sign this for me so I can hold on to it. It's like the best thing for
That's
like
so funny.
a live thing,
Yeah, I have a million vinyls signed, and that's my whole thing too. I'll buy the vinyl, and a lot of the times I mean, unless it's like the Foo Fighters or something like that, but like a
Mm,
lot of the times, if it's a smaller artist, they hang around, they'll sign the record
yep.
for you, and yeah, you'll always
There's
have
something cool
that.
about that, because then if
Something
you're
really.
older, if you have kids or something, it's like, how did you get that? And you're like, I actually met them, child. Haha. I like it.
Do you hang out after the show and sign records and stuff?
Yes. Yeah. Which I like, which is great. Like I do. I've always done it, and I love being able to like give someone a hug and be like, thank you so much for actually taking the time to get to the gig, because it's not as easy as what people think. You think, oh, let's go to a gig, and it's like, no, it's not that simple. You actually have to get to the show, and all that kind of stuff. So I do genuinely love thanking people. But on the plus side of the whole Corona thing, now this is bizarre, but the amount of times where people will come up to me after a show and they'd be sick, and then I'd get sick. I'm hoping that if anything, it shows people how to act now when we get ill, because I've always loved that about countries like Japan. If you're ill, you wear a mask, to protect other people, not protect yourself, but to protect others. Because like the amount of tours where I've gotten halfway through a tour, somebody's come up to me and they're like, oh yeah, I've got the flu, but like I'm here because I love you. And I'm like,
Thanks, but
and then I've woken up and had to do like 5 shows with barely any voice.
because they would get you sick, not just
Yeah.
all everybody around them. Oh
No,
my
they got
god.
me ill. Yeah, because like when you're traveling and then you're getting up early to do like radio or TV or something, your immune system's really clinging on by a thread. So I'm the one who gets sick. It's not the audience really. It's always me. So I'm hoping that this is just maybe my show people that maybe they shouldn't go to a gig if they've got the flu or something. Please. Or at least just don't be hanging around the end to get a photograph if you're
Sure.
really sick.
Or stay 6 feet away from me and we'll do a landscape
Yeah, we can
shot.
do like I'll take the photo or whatever, but I sound like such a baby for saying that, because I know, but it's also it's like it's sweet, but it's also like it makes me really stressed.
Yeah. How do you feel about releasing your album during quarantine?
Oh, absolutely class. I love how it's been such smooth sailing. Every album, there's never been anything that's gone wrong. It's always just gone so great and so smooth. Frick. I honestly could have obviously never seen this coming. And to feel like you've waited so long to put something out and then for the world to be like, haha, was like so frustrating. I can't even explain. But like my life didn't really change. It was the fact that it was supposed to change. And, I was supposed to be starting to hit the road, doing shows, coming to the States, all the fun things. And then the world was like, nah, dude. Like, so at the start, I was obviously very scared. Because at the start, anytime I tried to plug something, people were like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Stop plugging your album. I'm like, oh, look at me trying to make a living. Thank you. Roar said if I could go to work, I should. And here I am working. I'm so sorry. Because like I'm always very clear when I'm asking people to buy it. It's like only if you have the funds to do so. Like don't be spending your like emergency food funds on my music. Like stream it then. Do you know what I mean? It's like people were obviously really sensitive at the very start because it was really scary and we didn't really know what was going on. People have loosened up now. I'm able to plug my album, plug my book again, but I still have to do it very sensitively, you know, because you don't want to rub people up the wrong way. So it's made it harder you can't just put out a little pluggy tweet being like, buy my album anymore. You have to think about how you word these things, you know. But I mean, my life is never anything but interesting, so it's a fun challenge. Totally didn't wait, 6 years just to have the universe flip me off, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping it might work in my favor, you know. Maybe people might be like, oh, this is a really good isolation read or an isolation listen, and it might help spread the word or something, you know. You never know. We'll see, because people do have a little bit more time on their hands. So people who might not have had the time to read a book or listen to an album from start to finish might now, give it a shot. So,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe people will be more invested in it now because they have less stuff to do, or places.
I hope so. I hope, because that seems to be what's happening with like TikTok and stuff. People are like, and on the day I'll join this app, see what happens.
Are you on TikTok?
So, yeah, and I didn't understand it for so long, and I was like, what's going on? And then about a month ago I started taking it, like, not seriously, but I just decided to start posting things that I wanted to post. Because in my head I was like, nobody's going to follow me in here. I'm just going to make things that make me laugh, and that's it. And it worked. I started getting like loads of followers who didn't know who I was. And then I had one or two do really well. And then people obviously knowing then who I was. So like, it's just weird. But most of the people don't have a clue. And I love that, because it's like this little app that I can just do whatever the hell I want in without, like, I try not to plug my music and things like that. I just try and goof. But I'll plug my music if I'm goofing. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you don't just use it as like a platform to play
a promotional tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I hate that. Like, that's what, like, there's so much promotional stuff going on. For me, when I started that app, I was like, I just want to have a fun place to play. And that worked in my favor, you know, because whenever I let my hair down and actually just was myself, you know, my followers just like skyrocketed. So I was very, I think I'm on like in about 250,000 now.
Wow.
For a teeny weeny wee app, you know. Well, like, it's a massive app, but like, I'm not posting anything groundbreaking, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's why I'm like, why do you follow me? You know?
Do you think some of that spilled over from your Instagram followers? Or no?
I feel
really?
like it's very, very, very different audiences. I can always tell, like, what, like, a few people from TikTok have migrated to my Insta, but very few have gone from my Insta to my TikTok.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You're so obviously doing great. Something right. Yeah, because you're killing it on Instagram too.
I think it's more so like there's like a certain, I would say, like, type of humor or whatever to my posts. So that kind of brought in a whole different bunch of people. Like, on my other social medias, my demographic is very highly men. It's predominantly men, and it's predominantly men who are like 18 to 35, right? And that's fine, you know, that's grand. Cool. But when I joined TikTok, I may or may not have posted the videos that I couldn't post on my social media because there was men, you know. Like, one of them, I'm literally like I'm going to have to start playing mind games with myself, because that's usually the job of all the men in my life, and like, we're in isolation, so it's time, you know, that kind of thing. So I was finally able to like say like things in my head that I thought were funny, but weren't for my audience. And obviously that usually it's a risk to do, in the sense of like, that doesn't necessarily garner you people of that demographic, you know. But I got lucky. So like on TikTok now, it's like 75% women, which is insane for me, considering like it's the flip on all my other socials.
Wow, that's crazy. So yeah, not doing what you did as far as musically is goes on Instagram, like promoting
Mm.
yourself and just doing what you want to do, and you still got, I mean, 200K,
Was
250,000 followers. Like it's
bizarre.
just like
Like, yeah, I don't
crazy.
know. I have no idea. I have no clue. Because like I remember before I started taking it seriously, because I a guy don't well me and a guy ended, and then I was like, great, I'm gonna start TikTok. Like properly, I'm gonna start posting on TikTok, and that was what made things start taking off. I don't know, because before that, I think I overthought it, and I was like, oh, I'll do this because this is a trendy thing, or I'll do that because that's what everyone's doing. And then the minute that I was like, I'm heartbroken, I need a distraction, and I just jumped into just making things that made me laugh. Yeah, it just started taking off, which I think always just a testament to how I've always approached myself in the industry. Like when I was doing TV, and even after TV, it was always like, don't be anybody but yourself, because then you're always going to be feeling like you're living a lie, and you're going to feel like people are going to catch you out on a lie, and like that's not good. Even down to like that app, like I speak fully in my home accent, which was just the fact that I honestly thought nobody would watch it. So I was obviously just like full on speaking like I would at home.
You changed how you talk? What do you mean? So like right now you're not speaking as if you were at home?
I'm not. I'm not as strong. Like my accent waters itself down. Mostly for like phone calls and stuff like that, just so people can understand me. Whereas
Interesting,
on
yeah.
that, let's speak as fast and as much slang as I want from home. So yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I would have never known. That's awesome. I can't wait for the record. That this is like such a cool creative concept, and I love how you have the book and the photos, everything kind of tying together. It's really cool. So I know
Yeah,
I'm
it was.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just joking. I was like, it was a project.
Yeah. So you had a whole tour plan and stuff. You're going to come to here to the United States.
Well, I definitely had like promo-y things organized, like promo trips and stuff, which usually involve like one or two gigs anyway when you're out there in that neck of the woods. There was definitely like a UK tour and event side of things in the works, but it's all up in the air. I was also supposed to go see Chris Stapleton, who's my musical dad. So that didn't happen. I was supposed to go to Texas to see Chris Stapleton, and then the world ended. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Tell me about
Like
that. Like you had tickets to come to Texas to see an artist?
legit. Yeah, well, it's a funny one to explain, but like I'd always said that on my 30th I wanted to do a road trip of America and see Chris Stapleton play live in either Texas or Tennessee. Don't know why. That's just what my wee goal was. And then I don't know. I was like, do you know what? Why wait? Let's do it now. Like, not the driving part because I'm still waiting to pass my test. Fingers crossed. So I was like, let's just go see Chris Stapleton. Let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's do it before this album comes out. Let's have this like week in, because I want to move to Texas one day. So I was like, cool. Let's go scope out the landscape, see if we like it, and if it's just a
Really?
pipe.
You
Yeah,
want to move to you still want to move to Texas?
I haven't been now. In my heart, I think that's where I want to end up. Yeah, like I do like LA though. I just like warm weather. Love it. Because I grew up in such cold weather. But I was obviously just so pumped to go see Chris because like I'm legit his biggest fan. Like I loved him before I knew he was a solo artist. I was actually a massive fan of the Steel Drivers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was. They are like all my all-time favorite artists. Like because I love bluegrass. So someone one day sent me a song by Chris Stapleton, and they were like, "Oh, you'll love this," and I was like, "Dude, he sounds like someone." And they were like, oh, "He doesn't sound like anyone. He's like an individual." Blah. And I was like, "No, but he sounds like someone that I already know." And I went and looked up the Steel Drivers, and I linked them, and they were like, "Doesn't sound the same." And it's like, Googled it and was like, it's the freaking same dude, my guy. What are you talking about? And they were like, oh, I just don't like that kind of music there. I was like, cool, bluegrass isn't for everybody, but don't make me feel mental. So it was the same dude. And then I sat down and listened to his solo stuff because I couldn't believe I'd never heard any of it. And this was, like 4 years ago now. And I was like, my life will never be the same again. This is like, I'll listen to him if I'm in a good mood. I'll listen to him if I'm heartbroken. I'll listen to him if I'm on the train. It doesn't matter. I just think he's just a true artist in my mind. I love his music, like just the way he writes as well. Like he actually writes everything, and I'm like, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But like, has no concept of his fame, and I love that. Yeah, he just wants to fish, and I'm like, sick. I love fishing. It's fun.
Yeah. That's funny that you want to end up here in the States, in Texas of all places.
Yeah, Texas or LA. It used to be New York. But then I got sober and clean and learned how to kumbaya, and was like, maybe not.
Maybe not New York.
Yeah, I love it though. I love New York City, but I don't think I'm on that same level of let's go, 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 like I was when I was younger. So I think, LA I love. I think there's just a vibe. There's just a vibe, which is fun. I don't like that everybody talks really loud about their projects. That can get in the seat. But everything else, great. I think if you find a group of people there that are chill, then you're sorted,
We live in San Diego, which is just
fun.
hours south of LA. You should move here.
I think it's
LA,
too
but
cool.
a slower pace.
It's too cool for me. It's too cool. No, I can't live cool places. I tried living cool places. Doesn't work. I'm trash. I am trash. I'm cool with it. I've made my peace with it. I'm not. I don't know. People get this weird impression that I'm like a quirky little indie girl, and I'm like, no, I'm basic. I am basic. So, like, nah. I just, as much as I love making arty party stuff, I'm not an arty party person, So not for me. Like, I'd love to visit, and like, I love the poetry scene and stuff there, but like, I just, it would be like, I lived in a part of London that was very cool for a while. It's like Stoke-Newington. It's where like all the arty hipsters go, and I moved there and went, yeah, we're not cool enough to live here, dude. I'm sorry. Let's go. Like, I tried for 2 years and was like, nope, we're not. And that's okay.
Why the United States if living in Ireland?
I just love it. I just love America. I wish that the country would just adopt me and that I could just like be there all the time, because I've had the most fun trips ever out there. Every time I've gone, I've loved it. I've loved the people. The people are really nice to me for some reason. I think it's because I'm a bubbly, red-headed Irish person. I don't know, but they've always been super lovely to me. Like, I haven't met anybody that I didn't get on with. I like the approach. I don't know. I like I always tip well and stuff like that. Because like I know how hard it is to make wages out there and make wages meet. So I also I know people are like, oh, it's so fake, the fake niceness. I'm like, well, also, like, have you ever turned up to a cafe in London? It's grim, it's miserable. And then you get a grim, miserable, barista. At least they're trying, at least they're like, hi, how are you? How's your day like?
Yeah.
Like,
certain countries don't tip, right? Do they tip in London or no?
We have sometimes the occasional tip jar, but like the minimum wage here, you can live off a minimum wage here.
Sure.
Whereas like America, I don't think you have that figured out just yet. It's like, here's a minimum wage that you cannot live off.
Yeah, it's a minimum wage for kids in high school that want to, get a job scooping
money.
ice cream or something.
Yeah, it's like that. That is confusing to me, So that's why I always try and tip really well, because it's like the minimum wage you're on isn't a minimum wage. That's weird. Like, I know that it's like a lot of people struggle here in the UK, but like if you are a single person, like if I was to go get a job tomorrow and get a minimum wage job, that would pay my rent. I might not be able to eat a lot of fun stuff, but I could definitely live. Whereas I don't think the American one would do that.
No, depending on where you lived, I mean, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
you could have 2 jobs, making minimum wage to maybe.
Well,
if you want to work 80 hours, I guess.
Literally. I mean, that's the thing, because I do work really long hours in this quote unquote job, but it's different because it's like, this is what I want to do. So I don't know. I couldn't, like, I have so much respect for people who work jobs to make ends meet and they hate their job. I'm like, fair play, dude. Like, just, I don't know if I would have the strength to do that. And I think that's I think people think, oh, your job's really fun. And it's like, oh yeah. It's because I've got a fear of commitment. I chase everybody out of my life. I don't have a personal life. So I need a job that's all encompassing and takes up all of my time. So hi, I'm Janet and I have trauma. What's up? Or it's like people who have a regular steady job tend to have regular steady life. It's like they're dating someone or they're married with a kid. And I'm like, no. What is that? Give me a weird job, which I can use as an excuse to not have that, even though you totally could have both. I need my reasons,
Totally. Well, Janet, man, I mean, I can't wait to hear the record. I'm sure I'll have a lot of parallel experiences while listening to it.
I hope not, but we'll see.
Very
You must
cool.
drop me a message when you listen to it.
Oh yeah, and when do you have vinyl press? Is it coming out on the 5th?
It is. I mean, I'd pull it out of the box, but we know what it looks like. I have a vinyl, yeah, and it'll be out on the 5th. Everything should turn up on everybody's door at the 5th.
Interesting. So if I buy the record right now, I'll get it on the 5th. Probably not on the 5th, but you can pre-order the vinyl now and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Very cool.
It's all there. It's all ready to rock and roll.
Right on. Well, we can't wait for it to come out. Have you been doing anything? I know you talked a lot about TikTok, but you said that's not what you that's not for your music.
No, exactly.
But have you been going live on Instagram or anything, playing those quarantine little gigs?
I should do, but honestly, I try my best. I do online shows anyway. I do 2 online shows a month on stage@.com. So I tend to just stick to that. I do live stream, but my life hasn't changed, to be honest. I still do the same amount of live streams. I still do the same amount of online shows. That hasn't changed. It's just, I can't do the things that I should be doing in this period of my life, So on that side, I'm lucky. But yeah, nothing's changed. I just have less time. Surprisingly, I'm slightly envious of people who are able to chill out. I mean, the ones that are furloughed or whatever, so they're still got a guaranteed wage, but they don't have to do anything. I'm like, wow, what's that like? Because I'm starting work at about 9 o'clock in the morning and working till 10 o'clock at night. So it's I'd love to watch a movie. Come on.
Yeah.
Frick. I want to watch a series. I want to read a book. I want to complain about being bored, but also I don't, but I do. I want a day of doing nothing, which I got yesterday. I had worked for a couple of weeks straight there. And I just did nothing yesterday. I turned my phone off. And I just chilled in my sweatpants. And I was like, wow, what time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. Ain't that something? Oh, well, Janet, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your story and everything you're doing. I have one question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
What would be my advice? I honestly think, just be yourself. Because honestly, I watch people come undone all the time because they built this character around themselves as a defense mechanism. But honestly, if you're just yourself, people can see through people bullcrapping, where it's if you're just you, I think people are more likely to just connect and get it, So that's it. I know it sounds cheesy, And I know kids are going to go, I don't even know who I am. But nobody knows who they are. You just got to like be you. Like I am myself. I still don't know who I am, but I know that I'm being wholeheartedly me. You know, it's a very hard one to explain, but they'll get it. You know.